Greetings everyone. Today we're going to continue our solar system explorations and study a phenomena called the retrograde motion. It's best explained with an example. So here is a system in which you see the sun stationary at the center, Earth is moving around it, and Mars a little bit farther from the sun and slower is moving in its own path. What the ancients noticed is that when they looked at the sky, it appears that Mars is continuing forward for a while and then it is doing this loop-to-loop thing. And they couldn't quite understand the reason for that. They didn't even know at the time that sun is at the center of the solar system. They had what is called a geocentric worldview. But no matter how hard they tried, they couldn't quite make sense of this Mars going backwards, this whimsical behavior of this planet, where it's changing its mind during its orbit and going backwards for a while. It was quite hard for them to explain. And what we're going to learn to do is how to actually create this system for a possible math or science project. Let me just hide the stars and you can see this better. Let me just stop the animation and erase the traces. So what we're going to do is create a Sun-Earth planetary system first and then create one for Mars. And then we're going to shoot a line of sight from Earth to Mars and then have a designated point to indicate sort of the projection of Mars against the background of stars. And when you trace this point, you're going to notice that it actually is an optical illusion. It appears as if Mars is going backwards against the stationary background of stars, but in reality, Mars is always going forwards. So it is just that the Earth is overtaking Mars, and it appears to us from Earth that Mars is doing this loop-to-loop retrograde motion. So it is not a hard construction, so I'm going to just very basically tell you the details how to do this. You're going to need Geometer Sketchpad 5.0 or higher. I already have a sketch, so I'm going to just add a blank page. And we're going to start with a circular orbit. And at this point, it's probably a good idea to start naming things and giving them dimensions, etc. Sun is going to be large. Let's name it the sun. And at this point, you may also want to go to display text palette and start giving colors the way you want to things. So the sun, I'm just going to color the sun also yellow. And then I'm going to put the planet Earth, and I'm going to make it medium size in terms of the thickness of the point, and then I'm going to make it blue, the blue planet, and let's call that Earth. And let's give it a blue color. In a minute, when we do the background as black, you'll be able to see the names much better. And then, and observe there's a point here which controls the radius of the orbit of the Earth. So don't worry about that for a second, but be aware that that's different than the movable point. We're going to create a show hide button for that point in a second. Now, again, center at the sun, create another orbit. This time it's for Mars. So let's actually put Mars. It's going to be a free point. Let's color it red, the red planet. Let's call it Mars. And then let's call its name as red. Okay. So observe, I have a radius control point here and I have another radius control point there. Let me both color them black and let me both make them sort of small so I can find them. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a show hide button for them because I don't need them now, but I might I'll need to later tweak the orbital sizes. By the way, we're trying to understand the principle here, so we're not terribly accurate about the actual ratio of the orbits of the Mars and Earth. So what we do is we select Mars and Earth. We go to Action Buttons, Animation. What I recommend is make sure that Earth has fast speed, and for better effect, make Mars slow. This is probably quite inaccurate. There is, I'm sure, a much better way of doing this, but right now we're trying to understand the principle. So test it, and you're going to notice Earth overtakes Mars in its orbit. Okay. Now we need to shoot a ray from the Earth towards Mars, and in a minute we're going to populate the space with some stars. So we need a projection of Mars, and you could do this really a number of ways, but the simplest way I can think of is the following. We need to project Mars into the background sky. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create here a segment. Let me make the, okay. And what we're going to do is select Mars, select this radius, construct a circle. So you're able to locate a point always this distance away from Mars. We will not need this circle anymore, so I'm going to permanently hide it. What I'm going to do is I'm going to select this point. I'm going to also color it red, and you could decide the thickness that you want to give to it. I'm going to leave it small, so that's good. Let's give this thickness here thin for the line of sight. You could now test to see if it's working or not. And the last thing we need to do to really get this retrograde motion effect is select a projection point and trace it through display trace. And when you animate, we should be able to see some kind of a loop behavior. Here we go. Okay, and you could get fancy here. You could create show hide buttons for all these things that control. So I'm going to go to Edit, Action Button, Show Hide for the orbits, etc. You may want to color your background something spacey, so we do that. Edit Preferences, you may remember. You go to black color. And at this point, I recommend go to the point tool and start putting a few points, but then let's color these points. So let's actually decide. Let's make them not too large. You can go to Other and select white color. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to quickly populate one portion of this surrounding area with some stars. And then look what I'm going to do. I'm going to select these. And then, I'm going to select these. And once you have selected them, you could copy and paste. Suddenly you have more stars. And now you could select this group. And again, copy, paste. This way you'll be able to populate your surrounding with, so I'm going to use Control V. You probably are familiar with that from your other uses of the software. So very soon you'll be able to populate your space with a lot of points that will represent the background of stars. Okay, and then here is your planetary orbit, and let's now see. I actually cannot see our ray, so let's actually select this ray and make that yellow or some color that we can see better. Okay, so when you do your animation, you're going to notice against the background of stars, Mars seems to be doing this loop-the-loop behavior that was incredibly difficult for the ancients to explain. All right, so you're on your way to a fabulous science or math project. I hope you enjoy. Take care.